Alrighty, we're on. Alrighty, so we've got Monica with us here today. Monica's been doing so many great videos, so hope you've been watching those too. And we're going to continue to talk about a lot of the emotional stuff that we're still seeing. Mother's Day is coming up though, and so we want to let you know that we do have lots of things available for mom. We have packages that we can put together, so we can put together really anything that we have here for you, anything that you want to come pick up, diffusers, jewelry, incense, you name it, books, cards, whatever. So if there's anything that you would like, you can call Melissa or Monica at the front desk and they can give you ideas of some good packages to put together for mom. But we also are doing the acupuncture and services to help with all kinds of things that are going on right now. So especially a lot of the aches and pains, I'm still seeing people coming in, and a lot of digestional things, but so much of the emotional stuff too. And I think we're just at a point where I'm actually seeing a lot of the adrenal fatigue kicking in and leading to a whole bunch of other things that are going on. And so we're still here treating those, and those you can come in for sessions in here for Mother's Day. I put together the acupuncture plus free cupping. So if you buy a gift card throughout this whole week, we're going to have some Mother's Day bonuses along with those. So if you want to call and find out some more about what those things are for people who are afraid of needles, we have the laser acupuncture. We can do pressure points on the acupuncture points. So there's a lot of options of things that we're offering, especially if people feel like it's something that they need to come in for. And then we also have the remote sessions that we're still offering too. Do you want to talk a little bit about the remote sessions?
Sure. So we'll be doing, Angelica is going to be doing the psychic mediumship. Carol is going to be doing the mediumship sessions as well. Sophia is going to be doing her EFT for emotional distress. All of those prices are on our email, and we'll get those out too. I'm going to be doing the crystal alchemy with the Akashic Records, and I'll be offering for the Mother's Day special free distance Reiki with those too. And then if you want to.
So yes, I have, it's a package with aromatherapy. So it includes some essential oils that would be custom to you. And then I think we're going to do even like either a phone call or like a Zoom session to, so I can talk to you and make it more personal. And then even like the mantra cards and mantras that can go with it. So it's going to include like, how do you apply them? Because there's different ways to go about using the oils.
Alrighty, so one of the, let's just going to go in here, and are we good with the sessions and everything? Yeah. So if you have any questions, check, we'll send out a new email soon too with all of those specials and everything that we have. But I do, no matter what, even before all of this happened, with the acupuncture and with everything being holistic, that's exactly what that means. Is it's never just a one thing. So nothing that we're ever treating is just a physical pain. It's tied to emotional pain or spiritual. I would even say just not really being aware of your spiritual belief system and having doubt in certain aspects of your life. And anything like that causes stagnation in the body. So the energy to get stuck. And so when we're working on things holistically, we're trying to figure out how to put this all together and how to allow the body to flow the way that it needs to encourage your body to heal in the way that it needs to. And so that's what we're always doing. Every time you have a session with anyone who's here, we're trying to address all of those things and then trying to meet you at the place where you respond best to the therapy. So whether that be through acupuncture or essential oils or whatever it is that we offer here, we try to have so many different practitioners on board so that you can find the technique that works best for you. So I'm going to share a story with one of my clients, and she came in and she told me how she was talking with somebody else, and she was telling her about this memory, this experience that she had when she was younger. And the memory was, as it was all the time, is she would sit next to her father to her right, and he would take the food and then he would pass it along the right, and it would get to her last. And her friend was like, "Oh my gosh, did you have enough food at that point? Was there enough?" And she's like, "Well, sometimes there was. Sometimes the good stuff was gone." And so I said, "Oh my gosh, now I know something about you." And I said, "I know." And she likes to bake. And I said, "I know when you bake and you bring over your goodies, say you're cutting a cake, you always give the first piece to someone different." And she nodded her head, and I said, "How did I know that?" And she's like, "I don't know." And I said, I know because of your story. So I know one of the ways that you say, "I love you," is to say, "You get to have the first piece." And I said, it took me years to figure that out. I was brought up, you always feed the little ones first. And so when I would make breakfast, always the little one got it first and the oldest one got it last. And I was with my oldest daughter, and we were talking while I was making breakfast, and the other two were busy watching TV. So I gave her the first piece of French toast it was that day. And she goes, "Oh, Mom, for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, for you." And she was just like, she couldn't believe it that I gave her the first piece. And I felt terrible, but I also told my client who I was talking to, "You learned that. You knew that already. You knew that getting the first was important. It was a way of showing I love you." So the experience that you had actually taught you that this is where we need to give love into the world, that giving someone something first is a sign of I love you. And I go, and you've done that your whole life because of your life experience. So sometimes we don't realize that because of our life experiences, we've already been filling the world up with love in our own way. And it's because of that experience that we are able to just, without even knowing or thinking, we just automatically love in this way. The part where we have to be careful, and like I told her, is when she gets served last. It's going to trigger, like, again, like, "Oh, yep, that's like it. I'm always last." And I said she had to be careful because there's going to be times where she does get served first and she'll just dismiss it and think that was weird. I wonder how that happened, and not pay too much attention to it. Getting served last is going to trigger this whole emotional place in her where she's going to feel sad and depressed and down, but she's also going to dismiss the time she got served first, which was really a time she should have celebrated and been like, "Woohoo, I got it first," because that's what she tries to give when she gives to people first. So there's so many different ways that we can discover where these emotions got created. And there's so many different things that we can do to help with this. You can do inner child work, you can do journaling, you can do therapy. But I think what's really important is to first realize that because you had the experience, you're already loving this world in a way that it needs to be loved. And so there has to be some type of gratitude for having that experience and for receiving that information so that you can wake up and give that love out to the world. Then, of course, yes, you want to go and work on some of that stuff so you can identify your triggers, so that you can laugh at yourself a little bit, or that you can just sit in a moment and be like, yeah, that really hurt me and it still hurts me. And that's really up to you to decide like where you're at on that journey. But I hope that everyone realizes that you are loving the people you love despite all of that. And we would be missing out on something if you didn't have that experience and we weren't allowed to feel that type of love that only you can give. So I know you do so much with the emotions here too. So
Yeah, I think just looking at what it is that triggers you sometimes can bring up some things, and that's like when you're reflecting on it, you kind of have to turn it around and say the opposite of it, and then it kind of like reinforces or like does something with the subconscious mind where it can turn the negative into a positive, and it's kind of just teaching you to look at it. Does that make sense? Like a negative like way is actually sometimes a positive. I can't think of an example right now. I have to think about that. Like a trigger, and then trying to reframe it and kind of like consistently reframing it.
I don't know if this is what you mean, but I know like a lot of times if you have that trigger, you also start developing compassion for others who are also triggered.
Oh, definitely.
In that way.
Yeah. Yeah. But like more reframing it for yourself too. Like, oh, this always happens to me. Boo-hoo, poor me. And it's exactly what you said. Like just trying to do that for yourself where you can like flip-flop it into a positive. And you kind of have to meditate on it. And like, for me, it's using like the oils and going with a specific oil for like a specific emotion. And then working then with the brain, with the oils to reframe. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's your opposite thought.
Yeah.
You opposite thought it.
Retraining your brain.
You retrain it.
Yeah.
And your triggers are great guides to doing that. So looking at why you got triggered, starting there, start with whatever situation is triggering you. So the triggers are the starting point. You see the trigger, you ask the questions, why did this trigger me? What is it showing me? And then once you get there, you can say, okay, wow, this was my story. It was always why me. What, an opposite thought would be why not me? So it's just taking what you are already living, what you already know about yourself, and working from there to build onto like where this got started and how you can change it. A lot of times I like to say like whenever you're doing this work, it's great to clear out, but we have to remember to fill back up with. And that's, I always remember like the sage and the Palo Santo. They combine really well because the sage clears out anything negative and the Palo Santo brings back in something of a higher vibration. So when you are releasing, remember to fill up with, and that's what you're talking about, like the opposite thoughts.
Yes.
So when the negative comes in, see it, feel it, understand it, release it, but then reframe it, reprogram it.
Reword it into like a mantra to yourself. I always, get chosen last for whatever, looking at it. Yeah. And then because I was chosen last, now I know how other people feel, and this is a gift. This can be a positive.
Right. Everything in life is meant to build us stronger.
There's a lot
help
of
us
right now
there.
With this right now, with like triggering and things happening with people being in this quarantine. I think where you have to remember it doesn't always feel really good to go through what you're going through in this, but it serves a purpose later. It builds a strength in you.
And I think that's where that's where it can start affecting the whole rest of the body is when it gets stuck there. So when we get stuck in that, this always happens to me, and don't acknowledge that because this happens to me, I make sure no one else ever feels like that. But we allow that feeling to get stuck in us and then make up all of our other excuses like, oh, so just give up on today or whatever it is. And this is the time of year, springtime right now, where we don't like being stuck. We like all of this motion, get up and do something about it. But it's hard to stay motivated right now without being able to move. So it's like we're stuck. And sometimes it feels like the best thing, and this is like when I see people who are like really like excess energy in their liver and gallbladders, they're the ones who, when they get upset or mad about something, they want to go for a run or they just want to work out until like they're like exhausted because they need to move this stuff out. But when we're like confined and stuck in home, it just like boils inside, and that's not good. So if you even just do some, whatever it is to help get it out, write it down, do go for a walk, whatever it is with this intention. Hi, Robin. It'll help to get this moving, and then it helps to get us motivated again. I would say like motivation is one of the things that I'm hearing a lot right now. Like people just can't get motivated, can't get energized. They're sleeping enough and still waking up like really tired, and it's because like all of this stuff is bombarding in and we can't do anything with it. So we have to find some ways to let this out.
So it'd be like the adrenals then, kind of too, maybe. What about doing like the foot soaks, like the Himalayan salt? That's supposed to be, or like magnesium salts or Epsom salts, and then adding the essential oils to it. I know basil essential oil is it comes up for so many things right now with these emotions because it supports the adrenals. So I feel like that one would be a good one to add to some, like a cup of the magnesium flakes or Epsom salts and to soak your feet. Just an easy way to kind of like, I say it's like clearing the aura almost. So let it help you, you know, so you're not trying so hard, so much in your head thinking when it's hard to get that motivation.
With that too, carnelian, these are some crystals that'll help with the motivation. This is a carnelian. This one's really cool. And amethyst. This will kind of help us stimulate that sacral solar plexus area into third eye crown to kind of get us not only in the physical way ready to move, but also in our brains, in our heads, and the way that we're perceiving our stories.
Super drawn to this one.
What's that one? Oh, I was looking at that one. That's rhodochrosite. That is the stone of the compassionate heart. So that's a great one. You can add that into always with the emotional work. I recommend heart chakra crystals. Even with this motivation, looking at why you're not motivated, where you're stuck, where you're not wanting to move, incorporating that in can connect you back to that heart center and get everything aligned, moving, flowing, so that you can physically get yourself.
Could be getting stuck like in that middle.
Yeah.
I know you were saying that before, like we're at the heart. I feel very much like, for me anyways, the like solar plexus, like yellow personal power, and then like the heart.
Yeah.
And yeah, it gets stuck there. So I get like all of these great ideas come in about doing things, and then sometimes I can still not follow through, and then it's like stuck in the stomach. So.
And spring is typically a very busy time of year. So like we got so much to do, like getting the house ready and the plants outside and the yards. And so we're so used to at least getting out some of this energy that's like trapped inside by doing things and getting distracted by everything else that's going on. And right now we can't because we are stuck. And so I would say like baby steps. I would say like just of all of the like 10 things you woke up, and Monica told me about this too. I was just saying this a couple days ago. Now I was like, I've got like 10 things on my to-do list. They're not going to get done. And I am still working and we've got things going on here, but I still know that I'm distracting myself from doing some of the things that I really want to do. And she's like, well, how about if you just pick one? And that helped so much. And I was like, because as soon as I got that one, that was like the most important thing off my chest, or what I needed to get accomplished for that day. It made me feel so much better, because it's so much easier just to throw in the towel and say like, well, you know what, forget it. I can't do it all. It's impossible. So just, I won't do anything. And then we have all these other emotional things like guilt that we wake up with the next day because, oh, you couldn't even do one thing or whatever it is. But we're getting like really, really buried in a lot of our emotions just because we're already feeling pretty defeated at this point, is what I'm feeling like. And so it's like, what is the things that we can do to help us just to wake up and get that one thing done? It's like this burden on the heart that I'm feeling. A lot of that was already put there because we were, and still are, a lot of people are still in so much fear about everything that's going on. So as soon as we're in fear, that's the adrenal system. And then that makes the heart feel like it has to do all of this work all on its own. It doesn't feel strong enough to do anything. So it's all protection around the heart. So I see that physically in heart palpitations, carpal tunnel type stuff, circulatory type things, and especially pain in between the shoulder blades. And the pain in between the shoulder blades is a lot of times just fear of like, no one has my back. I've got to do this all on my own. And so we're already walking up so far into this point already like that. And then now there's even more stuff being put onto the heart pressure, the unknowns still of everything, how am I supposed to plan for tomorrow when I don't even know what tomorrow's going to be like? And so right now it's, yes, take things slow and get done what you can get done, and try to address some of those emotions, just one thing, journal one thing or write down one thing, but we still have to walk through this area of fear. And so what I would say then is like, just start writing down your questions. Like so meditation was coming up to me, and then as I was doing some of the meditation with some people, it was like, I can't sit and concentrate and listen to a guided meditation because my mind is just going. And so like, it's not working. So I'm trying to put some other meditations that are just like moving meditations. But what I would say is just really ask a question, write down a couple questions of what you have about anything. And in the morning, just pick up your list, and whatever one you feel is the most important one, ask that question and wait for your answer to come throughout the day. That's also a form of meditation, and that also helps to release a lot of the burden on the heart, because this means I have to do it all by myself. So if I ask the question out loud, now I'm asking the universe for help. And that sign might come through in so many different ways. It might come through as a phone call from a friend, and so you just want to be open to receiving that right now. But a lot of this pressure on the heart, I'm hoping that we can find some ways to help release this and move that energy. And even the arm swings that we do with Jen Robertson is such a great way just to open and get this stuff moving. And it's just so important to keep the body moving. If you can't do the arm swings or don't know what those are, they're honestly just, you're just swinging your arms like a pendulum back and forth. But if not, breathe. That's what breathing does. It just helps to like open up, like deep breathing. It helps to get the oxygen moving from not stuck right here, but the more you can let go, relax, the deeper you can breathe, you're going to get that oxygen to your hands and to your feet.
So I have a couple of crystals here to help with that. So with the brain stuff, when we get in that, when we get into those, like I call them spiral thoughts. So when you get into those spiral thoughts and it gets to be so overbearing and you can't like escape it, that's where the breathing comes in, the arm swings, getting yourself out of your head. What I do is I blast my music, and I just like, I'm not good, and you guys have heard me say this before, but I just dance. It's getting yourself out of your head for those couple minutes so that you can objectively see where you're at, where you're getting stuck. It can help you to pull yourself out of that energy, that burden. I have opalite here. Opalite, I always imagine as a crown chakra crystal. So that's going to be what helps you get out of your head. It's going to kind of clear that stagnation, that like that stuck energy in there. And then for the heart, I have emerald. Emerald is, I always imagine it as the hope crystal. It's for the heart. And the word I always just remember with it is hope. And you guys can look all these up and they're going to have a bunch of different meanings with them. And then solar plexus, I have citrine. Citrine is your willpower stone. That's going to stimulate your solar plexus to help you believe that you can do this. You can get out of it. And then smoky quartz, that's going to ground all that energy. And it's going to remind you that you're not alone in this. You can call out on any one of your angels, guides, loved ones, higher self. It's going to remind you that there are people and energies around you willing and waiting to help you.
So that reminds me too, like something that I keep seeing all the time is we're all in this together.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a beautiful saying, but I don't feel it at all. Like I feel like we're saying that, but yet we've already been divided into the essentials and the non-essentials. So how is that all in this together? Whenever something like this happens and they say, you have to quarantine yourself and it's making everyone so afraid, and we're definitely not in this together right now, where everybody is feeling like nobody understands what I'm going through in all of this. So I might hear that people are getting so much money from unemployment and yet I'm not getting anything. And people might hear whatever it is. I feel like it's a time where really we need to do more reaching out to one another. Like when we're working here, I can so forget that anything is going on outside until the masks come on and it reminds me of what's going on. But it goes back to, again, like everyone has a unique and individual story and they wish so bad that other people could relate to them, hear their story, and just understand what's going on. And I feel like if we really want to do this whole, like we're really in this together, more is going to have to be done, because this feeling alone is a real killer out there, and it always has been. This isn't anything new. This is just there's so many people that before this even happened are already feeling like that. This is where a lot of this emotional stuff is coming from. This is where a lot of adrenal fatigue comes from, is people feel alone, like no one's there to help me. I have to do this all by myself. But right now, I feel like it's like proof positive to people out there, like, see, and I do. I have to protect me. I have to protect my family. And I wish we could kind of change that message a little bit to get that out. And if people can, whatever it is to connect a little bit more, even if it's, call a church near you and see who needs help or get help, call and ask for help. Sometimes you got to put your pride away. And if like you're not good for yourself or good for others around you right now, asking for help, call here. We're talking to people all day long, just talking, because that's what we've noticed that people need more than anything right now. It's just someone to talk to and someone to hear their story and what's going on, and someone to say, I care about that. So I do feel there's a lot of even heavier things. The fear was like the start of it all. And it was like, fine, we'll just hide away for a little bit. But now that we're coming out through this, there's so much more. And I think that's why that crystal there's going to be a lot of scar tissue that has been built up because of this. And so we're going to have to really do a lot of work to uncover the hurt that's already been done because of all the fear and the response to fear before we can even get back to like some of our same old emotional issues. But I do see those same old emotional issues being brought up, but now it's like a little bit deeper. So you want to jump on any of that?
I was just thinking how it can feel like we're stuck or we're in some kind of like a healing crisis or something like that. But if you kind of look at it in the sense of we've already healed or you've already healed, but you're still feeling some of the leftover like stuff that's there. I think actually like you make so much progress, but then you're left with those feelings that they don't feel really good. But it helps to just understand that you're doing the work. It's doing it for you. You know, does that kind of make sense? Like, yeah, I don't feel really great right now, but I've done that work. It's already passed. And now I just have to kind of like hang in there. It's been done. So.
No, I love that. And that goes a lot to the resistance, you know, that which we resist persists. And this is calling for a lot of surrender, surrender to the moment. So the same as like thinking that experiences in our lives happen to us for a reason so that we could acquire that knowledge and love the world in a certain way. Well, then so isn't this experience right now. Hi, Dorothy. So if we can take this experience and really like grasp it and just see where it takes us, like we're still on the boat in the water. Like we still are like, you know, like feeling like all the waves and everything, and we don't know where we're at or
it's
where
like
we're
when
going.
You get off the boat and you still feel like you're on the boat. That's what it is. It's like, oh, I don't know. I'm not done. But you're not on this boat anymore. Yeah, you got like that feeling of like, oh.
Yeah, and I think, and that's where a lot of this even started from us. This, you know, long stuff is like trust and surrendering, and part of it maybe is like, how much do you really trust that this was all a part of your life and that you were really equipped to handle all of this, and again, just to see kind of like where does that take you, and not let it be such a bad, terrible, scary experience.
Right. And the fear makes that, you know, the fear makes that 100 times worse. So when we are able to look at our triggers objectively, we don't give the power to the fear. We give power to the like empowerment, you know, the lesson in it, the growth, the change, what we came here to learn from it. And trusting is so big with all of this. You know, it's so important to remember that we designed this for ourselves, and there's nothing that we can't do that we don't already have the tools for, or we can't find the tools for. You know, there are, especially in this day and age on the internet, you know, the places that you can get this information from, it's all out there. It's waiting for you to discover it. And it's really about taking that first step and saying, I'm ready to be a part of my life instead of just a part of the story that's been playing in my life.
Awesome. So I watch a TV show that I got Monica on and loves too. But one of the lines that I heard recently, which I'm just going to kind of throw out there because I love where this has taken me, and it's taken me to different places. But the line was, "Your life is not your own." Hi, Michael. Michael's on there. So your life is not your own. And I just want you to like write that down and see like, what does that mean to you? And we'll talk about it next week because I love that one, and I'll share everything where it took me to. But what could that possibly mean? And just keep writing a couple of things down because, and I've asked a lot of people this question too, and I've received a lot of different answers, and I love them all. But I just love when something like that can trigger, hi, Nikki, conversation, or just so many different ideas to pop into your head all at once. It's from The Last Kingdom.
Mhm.
We have the same boyfriend from that TV show.
I tell everybody about that show.
It's the best. A lot of good ones, but that line popped up, and so yeah, if you want to journal on it, ask other people about it, and next week when we're on at this time, if anyone would share with me what they got with that, because or if not, you're just going to hear me talk about what I got from it and what I asked everyone else about it. So either way, but I love that. But I love when even I should go to church way more often than I do. Sorry, but when I go and you know, they say something, and it just all of a sudden hits you. But I know it's hitting like everyone else differently. So there's like one statement that comes across, and 10 people can receive it in a totally, completely different way. And I love that, and I love how Spirit like moves through us that way. And so it's like, yes, that message doesn't have to bring you the same comfort that it brings me, but it should bring us all comfort in a different way. And whenever things like that are said, or a song, I just feel like that just helps to like get the energy moving, fill you with love, fill you with hope. And that's hope too. So May the 4th. So me and Melissa are nerds, and so we're totally doing May the 4th. Monica is too cool for us, but but there's a lot of messages about hope. And go ahead and Google all of your Yoda messages today and see if any of those pop out at you, or you can do a little journal on those too. Melissa and I like to play with those statements too. Any good ones, Melissa?
Well, my favorite is always do or do not. There is no try. And I've thought about that. I mean, I say it to myself all the time. And what it really means to me is you have the choice. You can either do something or you cannot do something, but there is no in between there. And that's even the emotional work. You know, that's, you can either sit and be stuck in your story, or you can make the decision, the conscious choice to move forward and to learn and grow from whatever it is you're experiencing. So I think that one's pretty
Is
fitting for right now.
progress not perfection anywhere in there? Like, because that keeps popping in my head. Nah.
Progress is not perfection?
Progress, not perfection. So
progress, not
like,
yeah, I love that.
You
That's
have
beautiful.
to like not focus on being perfect, but like any step that you take is progress.
Yep.
So
Yes.
And that's what we
I
talked
love
about too.
that,
It's
yeah.
just like always being the student,
Yeah.
like always learning. And that's what that one reminds me of. It's like the minute that you say like, oh, I have learned everything I need to in life, I'm done here. Okay.
I don't know what that feels like.
but we shouldn't. We should never get to that point. We're never to that point. Every day that we wake up, we should be like, show me something new, teach me something new. I want more. And the minute that we are like, I know it all, I don't even know what you can gain from that, except for a sense of power that you know more than everybody else. But your energy will stop. Like we're supposed to keep growing, you know, we're not supposed to like just be done right here. And so as long as you are always
Hi, Lena.
Hi, Lena.
What's up? Sup, Lena? Love that. But yeah, so I would say we're never done growing, and questions will stimulate more learning to be achieved, even if you're done reading things in books or whatever it is. You'll have a question someday, and the minute that you start paying attention to that, you'll start being open to your answers about that as well. So keep asking questions, especially with all the change that's going on right now. Don't stop asking questions. this is power of the people, and that's where, like, if we're really all together, then that means we have to give everyone a voice, and we all have to really not say this is the right way or the wrong way. We have to really find a way to make it right for everyone, to let everyone be heard right now.
With that, and this came up this weekend, with all of the learning, there's real power in right now, and we don't ever stop growing. We don't ever stop having new life experiences to show us new things about ourselves. So if we can recognize how important our humanity is in our stories, we can come to learn that our spirituality is there to guide us through this journey together. And that's a new way with this, we're all in this together. We really are. It's just we're not focusing on who we are right now, who we have been up until this point, and who we want to become. Our humanity often gets pushed to the side because of life, because there are certain things going on. We have to look after other people. We have to do all of these things. We forget about how important our story is. Even, and you and I talked about just waking up every day is so vital. It's so important. And you don't even know what that ripple effect is in the grand scheme of everything. So when we take the time to process, to question, to learn, grow, we are contributing to this collective consciousness unity. We're delivering part of our story, our important part, our individuality, to a collective source of oneness that is all of us.
So it's necessary to focus on yourself. That's not selfish, because you're actually doing like greater good for the whole, especially like
Right.
if you're a sensitive person, or, you pick up on other people's energies, that becomes like very apparent when, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like just what a small change it is to be nice to yourself.
Right.
And realize that you're human.
And that gives you compassion for
Yes.
everybody else's humanity.
Right. Start with yourself, and then.
And I think that's when people will then be able to make this more of a we're all in this together. So, there's certain people who are going to realize through all of this that the school systems need to change. And they're going to be catalysts for that. And they're going to come together with these smaller groups and say, okay, look at of everything that's happened, like this is what's affected me in my life. This is what I've seen. And these are the changes that I want made. I feel like it becomes so overwhelming where everyone's like, all over. And of course, we're all in this together. I feel like, and we should all be in this together. That is such a, like, we really, it's like no coincidence that we're all born right now at this time with everything that's happening. And so, but it does become overwhelming when everyone's taking on like so much. And when you know who you are, you'll know like your role to move forward, and then you will find the support and groups where you need to put your energy into in order to get change occurring on that level. And so as you're doing this individual work, then you're going to start collaborating within these smaller groups of the whole group, and finding people who are like-minded and can help you move your goals forward. That in the meantime, you have to put all of that together and not get so overwhelmed. And hopefully then, because whoever decided to take on the schooling, education, I didn't have to put my energy there because I had all those good people on board there, and I trust what they're going to do with all that because that came from such a place of passion in their heart. And I'm going to focus on healthcare, and I'm going to do my role to see like how do we get things changed here so that we have better care for people, so that people have better immune systems to fight something like this. And everyone's going to take that thing, but it's hard to know what you're going to fight for if you don't like understand where you're coming from and what's like really lighting that passion inside of you to promote change. Alrighty, I thought you guys were waiting to talk. Sorry. You know me. I'll just keep on going. All right. So I don't know. Unless anyone has any questions, I really hope people will play my game with me next week.
Mhm.
And
I'll share mine next week too.
okay.
What is it again? Like
Your life
is not for
your
you.
life is not your own.
Your life is not your own.
What does that
I
mean to
already
you?
have words popping up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So write it down. You'll be here next week.
All right.
And we're all going to talk
All right.
about that. But I love that. I think I really love to just get like conversation stimulated and different ideas here. You know, I know like I have things that pop in my head, but then someone else tells me what they thought, and I'm like, genius, brilliant, love it. And to me, we're all in this together. It's like, look at that one thing and let me hear yours and let me like get like excited about that and thinking about that and integrate that into my being, because I don't know it until you tell me. So all I feel is the stuff that's always gone on in my life because of my life experiences. And so of course I have my repeating thoughts all the time. So when someone else comes in and shares their information with me, like parts of me just like explode, like, oh my gosh, how did you come up with that? That's brilliant. Love it. But then it also helps me to understand everyone else too, and not to feel different from other people, but really just open to everyone else. A lot of times the reason we put up that heart defense is because we're afraid of being vulnerable, exposed, wrong, stupid, because we are so different. And so we're always like talking and like, right. And like, if people don't know what we're talking about, or if they're like, wait, I don't get what you're saying, then we're like, I said something wrong. They didn't agree with it, or they don't understand me. And we wall up. And so that the more that we can share and have open conversations about things, we just let people know who we are and where we're coming from. And there's no judgment in it. It's more like, whoa, I never even thought of it like that. So hopefully we can help to unburden some of this heart stuff that we're feeling by just striking up conversation and getting people to talk about some of these things that come up. No right or wrong answer, just conversation. All right. Guys, got any last words?
I like that. I think how beautiful is it to be able to borrow somebody else's perspective, you know, even just for a moment in their story. It's you know, that's my favorite part about what we do here is I get to see everyone's stories. I get to hear what, you know, who you guys are, and that's exciting for me. So when we share,
it's not as
so
lonely.
cool,
Like I
right?
think it took a very long time to find my tribe. So it's like it was worth the wait.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
All right. So give us a call. Let us know if you need anything. We're here for you. And
Rita, Dorothy.
oh, hi, Dad. Hi, Rita. Dorothy is an empath.
Dorothy,
this
I know.
Is so hard.
I hear you.
I know, but it doesn't have to be. And especially as an empath, what I would say is first, careful with empathy and sympathy. Okay, so huge difference there too. Empathy means I feel. Sympathy means I feel sorry. Okay, and when you feel sorry, whoever you feel sorry for, you take away their power a little bit. Not on purpose. Not on purpose. It's from the heart. And so we don't want to feel sorry for anybody. We want to say like, I feel ya. But when you're really coming from this place of empathy, you understand that it's because of a higher power. And it's always through God, universe, whatever you want to call that this connection is there. And so you give it to God. And so you send unconditional love. The problem is that when we feel a lot of people's pain, when we're sensitive, we feel our own pain. And it might not even match exactly. It's just all of a sudden, if Melissa's having a bad day, and then it breaks my heart, and now I think about when my heart was broken, And so of course I want to hug her because I don't want her to feel like what it felt like when my heart was broken. But it's like the pain took over. And
Yeah, that's the sympathy part of it, where it's like, okay, let them like hear that you are sympathetic to them, but don't like get so caught up in their story and like you're all feeling it and you're all stuck in it. It's like it's not helpful at all.
and that's where a hug
It goes too far.
Yeah, a hug would be nice at that time, you know,
Yeah.
if we could, you know, just to be like,
But then
oh,
the
I'm here
empath
for
thing
you.
comes on more like suddenly, I feel like. All of a sudden, I'm like, this is not my mood. And I have to say it out loud. Like, this is, and I have to repeat it sometimes where I'm like, this is not my emotion. This is not my mood. Because you get to know, like, this isn't mine and it's heavy and it's so random. And you can repeat, like, this is not mine. I'm releasing it for the greater good. I allow it to be healed and I release it because it doesn't have to be like yours. You don't have to take it on as your mood.
But that reminds me too of a lot of times where, like, if people get information coming into the third eye, where they might sometimes receive a message that it seems like something bad is going to happen. Like, I don't know, someone's
like
going to die or something like that, you know, like you get a feeling like that. The thing I would say though is any messages that you so empathy is receiving feeling. Third eye, you're receiving like information. You could hear words. You could just get something like I just know that's going to happen or whatever it is. But when fear is involved, it makes us feel that like paralyzing effect. God never talks to us like in a way that would scare us. Mm-hmm. So there could be a message, but if that message ever feels fearful, then somehow our energy has misinterpreted it just a little bit. Mm-hmm. It could be because I was already anxious and then something came in and it still triggered. But still, no matter what, I would just continue to try to get rid of being in our own state of pain, fear, worry. It's hard. And that's why it's hard to receive any messages, because when are we ever really in a state like that?
It needs to be like recognized then, because it's like you can't take on somebody else's, like, say, anger, for example, if you're not like relating to it on your own personal level. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, and like you
need to acknowledge it. And like I was just talking about this in I think the last video, where it was like, acknowledge it, give the pain a face that it deserves, so that hopefully you can like give it the attention like a little kid having a tantrum, and like let it have its minute and then move on.
Mm-hmm. And if you receive that, and so like for empathy, that to me is still like receiving messages from the universe. So if you receive a message like that, like someone's hurting and you're like, that's not mine, then what I would say is, God, go wherever love is needed.
Right.
Like send it out there. So if I get like a thought that pops into my head and maybe it scares me, then I have to say, God, help me surrender to whatever is going on here right now. We have to find a way to clear that, because spirit, I believe, and people might disagree with me, but I don't believe spirit puts fear into us. I believe spirit only puts unconditional love to us. I believe God's language is unconditional love. So I wouldn't receive any information that would terrify me or make me scared. That's my own interpretation of what I just heard, or my own interpretation of what I just felt because of my past experiences, or because that somehow triggered a past emotional thing that was scary for me.
And then it doesn't have to be scary. Sometimes it's actually a really good thing. Like you get a message or however you receive it and you're like, oh my God, I'm crazy. And we were talking about that, how I would have like my angels come to me right when I'm about to fall asleep, and it's like appearing as a person, and I'm like not quite asleep yet. I'm in like a meditation state almost, where you're like half awake, half asleep. And I was telling Ronica about it, and I told her I was really angry and I felt like violated and crazy. But she's like, no, you have been asking for like your guides and your angels to come to you. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. So then when I welcome them out of a place of love and not fear, now when I have these visions or whatever third eye things, I'm not afraid anymore. So it's just all on how you interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
And even I have a story for this. So last week, I was at my apartment, and you and I had talked about this, and I was like getting really afraid for some reason. I was like seeing weird stuff, and I was like, I don't know. I was sitting on my balcony. I was like, I don't know if I want to even go inside right now. And I stopped for a second, and I was like, okay, if you're that afraid, grab your rose quartz, you know? And then I was like, but if I would have to go back inside to do that. If I want to get it, like I have to go back inside where I'm afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, if that's the scenario, be the rose quartz. I was like, you already are this. It's inside. There's sunlight. It's like 3 steps that way. And as I'm going through my planning process, you know, how I'm going to prepare myself to go back inside, I was like, wait a minute. Why are you afraid? Where is this coming from? Why all of a sudden is this fear? You know, 5 minutes ago I was inside and I was like, oh, cool things I'm seeing, you know, in my apartment. And as soon as I stepped outside, I was like, I'm afraid to go back in. So I took a second in the heat of the fear and said, why am I afraid here? And I remembered it was because I used to see that kind of stuff as a child. And the week before that, I watched, so a really big fear of mine was dinosaurs. And that was prevalent from 6 years old until 28. And I just recently watched the new Jurassic Park. So I remember that. I was like, oh my gosh, the dinosaur stuff triggered in me something that I had to release. I went through it, you know, I watched both of the new Jurassic Parks and I was like, oh, it was cool, you know. I wasn't scared mostly. I was only scared a little bit in the first one. And with that, like residual stuff though, like that residual fear was still there and I was still feeling it. It was still being triggered in me. And it took, you know, that was a week after I had watched it. So all of that fear had been slowly building up, waiting to be seen, waiting for me to be ready to look at it and work through it. But it didn't, it was those moments, you know, in those moments when you get to those points, it's important to take a step back and say, okay, why am I so afraid right now? And something you said reminded me of that. Now I lost where that was going because I was thinking about dinosaurs.
No, but it's true. So it does. It comes from somewhere else a lot of times. And that's like part of the hugest thing is we don't even put that together a lot of times. Like we just get scared and we don't even like go through and process that whole thing of like that journey of the fearful moment and my response to that. Like we don't even go back and see, oh yeah, this is something I'm always afraid of. It started from when I was little. I used to only do classes for little kids when I first started doing classes. And then the parents started asking me if I would do classes for the parents on crystals and power animals and everything. And I remember the first class that I had of parents, and I looked at all of them sitting in the chairs in front of me, and I could see them all as like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, you know, like same things that make us excited, same things that make us afraid, same things that we don't know if we should ask a question or not. Like it was the cutest thing ever that I could see all their little selves inside of their big grown-up bodies. And so a lot of times we, just because we have more stuff going on and more things to take care of, we don't really do a lot to let that go. And so however it is that you receive information, be careful with the things that that trigger any type of fear in you. And always remember too that none of that is your responsibility. That is what guides and everyone else, angels, that's what they're for, is to help with understanding and helping you interpret the information that you're receiving. So even if you receive any type of information, you can ask them to clarify this, to clear your body from whatever it's provoked in you, and to even be like, well, just tell me my role in moving forward with all of this now that this has come into my awareness. And so I feel like a lot of times the burden of receiving this information is, again, believing you're all alone in this. So that's the part too, where you have to find a way to work with what to do with the information once you have received that. And anyone here can help you with piecing that together. Fear allows us to learn and grow from that emotion.
Yes.
Whoa, Hector.
I love that.
Dad, I'm proud of you. Nice. Absolutely. We got to start somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So where do we start? We start with that thing that made us go, all right. I should have froze right there. That's probably going to be like the face. Yeah, that's good. My kids now, when we FaceTime, they do that. They do like all of a sudden they'll just go, and like just for pretend. It's like frozen face. All right, everyone. So thank you so much. Did you want to add anything else?
No, I think
We're
that's
good.
it.
That's good.
All right. Thanks for watching. Play my game next week.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.